Welcome to Fragmented, a software developer podcast where we talk about building good software and becoming better developers. My name's Don Felker.
And I'm Kaushik Gopal.
Welcome to the show. The longest break in Fragmented history, and yet we're back finally.
I know. Don, it has been so long that Adobe Audition's icon has turned blue. And I was like, what the hell just happened?
What app is this?
This is Adobe's Audition. So this is the primary audio editing software.
Yeah, the recording tool, right?
Yeah, I use it for recording. I use it for editing. It's part of Adobe's tool. I've been like a long time user. It used to be called something else. Cool Edit Pro. That's what it was called.
Cool Edit Pro.
I know.
That's when I used to use it, man. That's old.
Yeah, I loved it. So Adobe bought them off, and I just kept following along, and I used Adobe Audition. And speaking of software that's changed, as we were discussing, I was so mad. Dropbox doesn't allow me to like pause syncing, and like somehow in your version it does. Like, what the hell is wrong with people these days?
I know. I sent you that. For those listening, we have a checklist that we go through before our show. And as I'm reading off the checklist, I say, all right, make sure you pause Dropbox because it can mess with our syncing. And Kaushik's like, I can't find it. And I sent him a screenshot of like, well, here's where mine is at. And he has a completely different UI than I have. So apparently we're in some type of, A/B test hell.
Yes, and I am not happy because I couldn't pause Dropbox. So I just had to quit it.
So what did you do?
I just quit. I mean, I'm not going to like sit there. Like as we go through our like checklist, I'm sitting there trying to figure out, like taking screenshots. I'm not going to like search help. Quit it. That's how it works. Well, I'll open it up as soon as we're done. So
exactly. So today was going to be a short little show. Kaushik and I wanted to hop here and talk to everyone who's been a loyal listener. And if you're new here, this will be a little bit new news for you too. But today's a short show. We wanted to kind of give you an update of what's going on here in the world of Fragmented and kind of the future, which we kind of talked about before. And I forget the exact episode number, but where we talked about that we'd be kind of hopping and do some general software development. We're still going to stick with that track, but we do have some changes for the show. Kaushik, what's some of those changes?
These are crazy times, as both you and I and the entire world is aware right now. Going from like the coronavirus spreading, people being at home, stuck at home, like all kinds of like protests and all the other and I don't want to obviously get into like that because that'll take us down like another rabbit hole.
Oh yeah.
But life has clearly, been very different / difficult. And I think that was one of the reasons we took a pause, because the thing that we've always agreed on between the two of us is, we always want to keep doing this only as long as it's fun for us, right?
Yep.
And the simple truth was, it wasn't fun recording episodes when, you have background noises, you have to like worry about your kids, you have to worry about like making sure that the delivery person is like delivering your food safely. It was not fun, right? Like this is, and we all have like different problems, and I don't want to like necessarily overstate our problems as being more or less, but it was not easy and it was not fun. And so, we decided, okay, it makes sense to like pause for some time, and we did.
Yeah, exactly. It was back when everything started, like you said, the coronavirus. I mean, I had my kids with me, and it was just for me alone, just trying to figure out that new schedule as everyone's been doing. It was very challenging. And like you said, that could be a whole other show, but yeah, it's just it was one of those times where it just makes sense sometimes to how's that saying go? To get speed or whatever it is. Like you got to take 2 steps forward before you can take one step back. 2 steps back, 1 step forward. That's what.
Yeah, you got to take 2 steps backward before you land up taking 10 steps forward or something along those lines. But I think people get the.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we kind of did. Is just kind of said, let's put a hold on this for a little bit. Let's kind of get our bearings again, and then we'll attack this when we have had some time to figure out what's going to happen.
And in that process, what we also realized is like we wanted to change some things in addition to what you mentioned, right? Like in addition to the content of the show, we wanted to take it a little different direction again. And part of what we want to do is like for like listeners, like long time listeners, they know we started off like on an indie route and then we joined Spec, and we've actually decided like going forward, we're going to be like exiting Spec. But we also wanted to take the time to talk about why and also like, explain our reasons. And I can maybe go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
And then, you can like add in like your thoughts as well.
For sure.
First, I want to make it clear, Spec has been amazing to us. There's no question about it. Folks know already, from the credits of the show, Sarah, who's been our point person with Spec, has been amazing.
Phenomenal, yeah.
She's one of the best people to work with. Anytime we have something that we need to work, she'll be more than happy. Never have we ever faced a situation where, as the host of the show, if we ask something, her default is, let me see how I can make it happen. It's never a no. So we're extremely happy and glad to be working with Spec. And we highly encourage, if there are other developer and design podcasts that are interested in becoming part of a network, taking that step forward, we still highly recommend Spec. And I mean, who knows, a year or 2 years from now, if we decide, hey, we want to go back into the business of having ads and taking it into a network, we might if we had a choice, we might, who knows, go back and join Spec again.
Yeah.
But as it stands now, given how crazy these times have been, what we started to realize is when we're part of a network, there are explicit commitments that we have to make, especially to sponsors, right?
Yeah.
And I'm grateful. All our sponsors have been great, and I'm extremely thankful to our sponsors for having sponsored our episodes and helped make this happen. But at the same time, it's an explicit commitment. And between the two of us, I have no freaking idea when this stupid Corona thing is going to get over, man. The way things are going, it is not easy. And at least my feeling when we were talking about this is I don't want to necessarily take on the commitment of having sponsors in each episode, because outside of that, life has been pretty crazy for me, at least. And I won't speak for you, but it's been really ridiculously crazy to handle all things, right? For example, with sponsors, if sponsors pay us and we take their money, there's a commitment. We need to be doing a certain number of episodes, and that is hard. And Spec has been really amazing, and our sponsors for the most part have been amazing at adjusting when it was not difficult, when it was just impossible for us because of other commitments to release episodes. They've been great about accommodating, but that doesn't give us a great feeling, right? We don't want to overstay that welcome and keep doing that.
Yeah.
So what we realized is hey, we don't want sponsors for the show. And going forward, we want to actually take Fragmented to being indie.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? We can talk about that. But before I go on, I want to hear your side as well.
I mean, you pretty much nailed it. It's really hard to add anything to that, to be honest. It's just been really difficult, given the situation of coronavirus, and I think to even add a little more depth to the explanation is to give people examples. Is that there's often times when we would plan a recording, and literally, as I like to say, life would happen, and this happened this week. This is the second or maybe the third or fourth time we've rescheduled this exact recording. Right. Because why? Life happened. Things happen with your life. Things happen with my life. And when you have external sponsors, again, which we're very grateful for, it just kind of adds to that level of stress of oh my goodness, these people are waiting on us. These companies are waiting on us. They've paid money. And then it just starts stressing us out when our main goal for Fragmented since it started was to just share what we have learned in the industry, in the trenches of working as software developers. And at times it started to feel all right, now it's becoming almost a job, because we have to go through and make and honor these commitments, because our word is our bond. If we're going to do it, we're going to do it. And it just got to the point where it was just all right, this is becoming too much. We need to kind of reel back and take it back to our roots.
Pretty well said. And so as part of that, what we're thinking is we are going to be leaving the Spec network and just going to be taking it indie. Mm-hmm. But I think we should talk about what does that mean, right? What is the first big difference, I think, that people will notice is we're not going to have ads, right?
Yeah.
I think at least for the near future, we're thinking, we're not going to necessarily do ads in the traditional sense of how we've been doing it before. And obviously, if you are part of a network with Spec, they need to keep the lights running as well. And one huge source of income for that is the ad sponsorships, which is why basically we're taking the decision of leaving Spec too. What does that mean for content though? Do you think we're going to be doing anything different in terms of content?
No, not at all. I think all of our content is just going to be, again, highly focused around software development in general. As we spoke about in one of the previous episodes, that's where the future of the show is going to be. If for some reason we want to talk about a particular software pattern, we'll talk about that. If it's maybe a new release of a library in Android, we could talk about that. If it's maybe that you decided to start writing Swift full-time, then we could talk about that. So there's a whole different other realm of things we can do. But the name Fragmented has always kind of, elaborated exactly what software developers do on a day-to-day basis. It's just everything we do is fragmented. You could be writing Kotlin, 30 minutes later you're writing XML, then you're writing a little bit of JavaScript, and everything we do is fragmented in software development. So I don't see the future of the content of our show changing that much. Do you see anything changing at all?
No, I mean, I think you hit it right on the head. You hit the nail on the head. I always get that expression wrong, and I've never taken the time to actually understand what the right one is. One of these days,
hit the nail on the head, I think, right? Yeah,
hit the nail on the head. Okay, there we go. Thank you. Okay, so that's in terms of content that's not changing. What about our cadence? So one of the things that also is a big factor is how often, right? In the past, we've been almost super diligent about every Monday except the last. That might be changing too, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So going forward, we're contemplating at this point in time to just start to, the goal here is, again, to bring this back to the roots and share high quality content with all the listeners. Again, we were weekly episodes before. At this time, though, we're planning on going to about a monthly cadence, just due to the current situation of life in general right now. We have to focus to make sure that everything else is taken care of so we can actually provide quality episodes and are not kind of cheap and poorly made. So to do that, we're going to go ahead and be committing to about a once a month cadence. And if for some reason we decide to kind of drop another episode here and there, well, then that's just going to kind of be a bonus for the time being.
Exactly. And that's the thing, right? This is for this time. It might change in the future. We'll let listeners know if it changes. But the bonus episodes, again, that's where we want to go back to our roots, right? We're just two ragtag developers, out there, who are real software engineers and talk about our experiences, right? That's where we want to take it. If we run into this thing and we're super excited and we can't wait for an official recording date, we might just the next day pull up our mics, talk about it, and push out an episode, right? So that's the sort of the hope with which we're going to take this forward.
Definitely.
That pretty much covers a lot of that stuff. I know in the past people have been asking, hey, why don't you start a Patreon or do something like that? And instead of ads, because some people actually find they would prefer not having ads in their episodes. Uh-huh. And we also considered that. I want to be transparent about that in the show too, right? But I think the point is our focus is first on pushing out good content. We don't feel we've gotten into that good cadence yet. So before we even think about adding income to this has always been a labor of love, right?
Yes.
Fragmented, we're very thankful, has proven to help us a lot in our lives and our careers. I got to, be friends online with someone who I never otherwise would have run across the street and been friends with, right? So in many ways, Fragmented is extremely dear to us. But the point is, we want to make sure that high quality content goes out. That is primary. And I don't know, I don't feel comfortable right now with a lot of these state of these changes that are going on. I don't feel comfortable asking for a Patreon saying, hey, listener, why don't you pay us so we can keep this show up? We do have day jobs, thankfully, that are able to help sustain our lives comfortably. And so those Fragmented was never our primary source of income. But it was our in many ways, at least for me, this labor of love has been a source of happiness, and I want to keep it that way.
Yeah, exactly. That's been it's just, I couldn't have said it better myself. It's just something that I want to enjoy doing, and the costs, for us to run it is kind of negligible. It just takes our time, and we just want to make sure we're putting out good stuff.
Anything else that you wanted to add before we sign off for this one?
Nope, I think that's it. Just a short, quick episode. Let you folks know what's coming down the pipe. So you'll start seeing shows here from us on a monthly cadence. They'll pop in. Of course, we mentioned this before, but we're actually going to be doing it now. We'll be changing the artwork. So you'll see a slight artwork change here come over the next month, probably. The name of the podcast will remain the same, Fragmented. So just be on the lookout for a new episode and some new artwork coming down the pipe. And as usual, thank you all for listening and joining us on this journey.
Alrighty. That's it for the show, folks. Fragmented is hosted by Don Felker and me, Kaushik Gopal. We edit and produce all the episodes here on Fragmented. You can find more Fragmented episodes at fragmentedpodcast.com. Thanks for listening, and we will catch you in the next episode.